Sheena Ringo. We are continuing our track-by-track listen through to Shouso Strip with the song Sakana, which translates, according to the official translation, as titbits. Now, I gotta be honest, I heard that in America you call titbits tidbits, and there might be a reason for that. If you're American, let me know. Do you say tidbits instead of titbits? I'm intrigued to know. Anyways, so this is a song that's clearly going to be about little scraps of information, perhaps. I'm wondering where we're going to go with this. So far, the album has had two very clear strains running through it that I had previously described as almost being as though the album were recorded in two separate sessions. But it could just be that this is Sheena Ringo expressing two very different things she wanted to do at the same time. I think sometimes people overlook the fact that a creative artist can have that. They can be in to do a particular recording session, but they can have two very clear sounds that they want to work on at any given time. So we end up with songs like Identity, songs like Gips, songs like Crime and Punishment, which are kind of much more raw and about these big changes from like one part of the song to the next, and the loud and the more intense. And then you have the other songs which tend to be more about sort of building up a soundscape and just letting it roll on. So no idea what to expect with Sakana, tidbits, but we're going to find out together. Right, let's go. Have a little bit more Sheena Ringo. Wow, we are already... Wow, are we that near to the end? Oh my god. I did not realise we were that close to the end. Wow. Yeah, this album's gone by quickly, I'll say that at least. Let's jump in. Harpsichord, immediately like it. A weird neo-jazz thing going on at the moment. Really lo-fi sound. Jazzy. Menacing sound in the background all the way through. The bass line is so good. last song, I really feel like the bass kind of has strong control over the flow of the song. Everything kind of hangs on that bass line. Alright, so usual thing, because we're going to be doing this track by track. Okay, when we do the next reaction, I'll start from the end of this one and we'll run into it. But yeah, okay, let's look at this song in its own right first of all. Yeah, I kind of want to go straight into the next song. Oh, adverse. Crap.
Find your inner anthem, write another stanza.
All right, okay. The next song does actually start with a just go straight into the song. So it's not like it's because sometimes you get two songs where they're literally connected. You know, they're split down the middle by a track separation on the album, but really the two songs are more like one. In this case, no, it does just literally just ramp up and suddenly change. That's fair enough then. I was just a bit worried that these two songs would actually be like one and I'd be missing something by not listening to them both. But okay, it's fair enough. It's fair enough. Right, let's talk about this song, Tidbits. Now, first things first, I have to say, really love just the choices of sounds in this are really cool. Starting off with a harpsichord, which gives you an idea of where the song's going to go, but then that is pretty much entirely dropped in favour of a much more kind of American jazz style vibe. You kind of got this swinging feeling. Also like how the bass does shift between different modes. You have the dum 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 dum, very much walking in a very structured way, and then the chorus is just running around everywhere. I mean, the bass line in the chorus is just gorgeous. I think it's around here. I mean, again, I'm assuming working with Seiji here, and just the I forgot what his other name is. Seiji something. So I just keep on remembering. I got a friend who goes to a lot of gigs with, who's also called Seiji. So just the name Seiji sticks in my head. But yeah, he's doing fantastic work on the bass here. The song has that kind of swing rhythm that I'm increasingly noticing in Sheena Ringo's. Music seems to be the predominant rhythm, the 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 kind of swinging rhythm. She seems to use that more than she uses the 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 that we're used to in most contemporary pop and rock. And I think that actually might be one of the key things that gives her songs so much identity, is that they seem to be predominantly, at least in this phase in her career, seem to be predominantly based around swing rhythms. And I do wonder, because obviously later in her career, I know that she openly has pivoted very strongly towards embracing influences from, I think she said European jazz, but as a general kind of swing jazz seems to be something that's influenced her later creative phase a lot. And it might not be the overarching main influence in her earlier work, but you can certainly sense it just in the rhythms and some of the little instruments that come up. I do wonder whether this is something that she found through working with like really good producers and then became more prevalent obviously working with Tokyo Jihan, or whether this was something where maybe she had some influence related to this earlier in her life. Maybe this was a sound that she's always kind of heard from when she was very young. I do wonder where this has come from, because it certainly is not just late in her career, right down to the swing rhythms. It's all the way through her career. This song though, yeah, again, I just love that jazzy feeling. The piece of music itself is a rather intriguing one, because often when we talk about young songwriters, and she was still relatively young at this point, when we talk about young songwriters, a lot of the time what you're talking about is the songwriter will write the chords and the melody and the lyrics, and then so much of what's put on top of that can be things like arrangement, or can be down to the arranger or down to the producer sometimes. It can be the addition of little instruments that weren't originally in the song, or, okay, well, that's a nice song you got there. Let's add a really fast bass line over the top of it. There's so much that you can add to a song that can be done not by the original writer, but by the collaboration of the other people. And this particular song, to me, feels a lot like, I wonder how much of this was directly written by Sheena Ringo and how much of this was collaboratively written with the likes of the bassist, with the likes of, looking at the arrangement, the producers, and, with her and her little team, how much of this was a collaborative project and how much of this was purely just her writing everything. I think early on in your career, and especially a second album, when you've got a fairly fast turnover after your first album, you're going to lean into working with the people who you trusted from that first album. And I suspect this is there's a collaborative feeling to this song and quite a few of the songs on this album. I would say actually, sorry, I'm more talking broadly rather than just about this song at the moment. I'm getting the vibe at this moment that the songs that I said are the ones that are the raw ones, the ones like Gibbs, the ones like Crime and Punishment. I would take a guess those are the ones that she wrote entirely on her own, sitting down with a guitar and just playing and going, right, I want to write this song, because they feel like singer-songwriter songs. They really do. Identity, Gibbs, Crime and Punishment. Whereas songs more like this one and some of the earlier songs on the album that we got as well. Looking at things like I'm a Bathroom, a lot of these songs, they feel more like they're collaboratively written. She writes the core of the song, and then there's a bit of to and fro off of the probably more experienced studio hands that she works with. And this would also explain why she went on to do Tokyo Jihen after her third album. Guys, let me know. I believe it's after her third album she started Tokyo Jihen. That would make sense, because she's probably at this point starting to warm up to the idea of collaborative songwriting. Or at least collaborative song creation. Obviously, she's still writing the core of the songs. But it is interesting how there seems to be these two tones, and I do wonder whether that's part of it. This song, however, very much strictly seems to fit in that collaborative aspect, where you can hear a song at the middle that is very much Sheena Ringo. The melody, the rhythm. It's a very Sheena Ringo style of writing. But then all of the extra elements seem to be those collaborative elements. This is guesswork, but it's interesting because, as I say, from having worked with quite a few artists in the past and doing these kind of projects, I think one of the most interesting things for me about Sheena Ringo is obviously she's celebrated as this song creator. And I'm really enjoying the fact that I'm starting to hear familiar things, starting to hear things that make sense. Now, that doesn't mean I know 100% how these songs were created, but I'm really starting to feel like a relatable connection to understanding like the creative process that seems to be behind these. I must say though, and I've got to come back to this, I wanted to put this point off, but I'll come back to it. As much as I love a lot of those aspects, I have to stand by the fact this is increasingly, I'm feeling like I have to kind of just come to terms with the fact this is one of the worst mixed albums I've ever heard. The mixing is really awful. And I understand the point. I understand it's experimental, so I don't think of it as being like creatively bankrupt or something. It's just that you can tell they're trying to be experimental, but there's so much about the mixing that just puts me off listening again. Like having like the drum machine, like, or the electric drum, totally tight center on top of the vocals and actually mixed into the same EQ as the vocals is just hideous. And then having, you have all the other instruments very wide, so when they come in it sounds very big, but it's no good having all the jazzy instruments sound big if the core of the song sounds like muted and distorted and crushed. But look, I actually, it's not like, for me, this is not like one of those ones where you just go, oh, that was really lazily mixed, you just stuck compression on it and it sounds like crap. This to me sounds like a song and an album where it's experimental. They came up with an idea, they played around with it. I don't think the mixing is very good on this song. I don't really like it. It actually puts me off wanting to listen to it again. But the songwriting's great. I love the songwriting. I love the musicianship. I like a lot of the production on this as well. I think there's some good choices of sounds, good choices of tones. It's very interesting. It's very creatively inspired. This wouldn't be what I'd call a sort of I have to come back to this song directly kind of deal, but it is definitely a song that I would enjoy on this album if I was ready to deal with the way this album is mixed. I'd have to sit myself down, prep my ears for it. But if I listen to this album with all, I guess, this is one of those albums where if you took off your headphones and listened to it on just a speaker in the corner of the room as just kind of like mood music, that would probably work better, because then maybe you wouldn't notice so many of those little issues. But honestly, I really like the tone of the album. I like the creative direction. I like a lot of the inspiration. Mix, not so much. But I am looking forward to seeing where this goes. But I'm also slightly sad that we're near the end already. Although I'm actually really excited about the third album. Everything I've read about the third album and everything you guys have said makes me feel like the third album is going to be my favourite. So we're kind of cruising towards that, but we'll see. We've got a couple more songs to go on this one as well. Definitely, I'm having a really interesting time with this. I'm definitely having an interesting time discussing it with you guys. So as always, get in the comments, let me know what you think, and until I hopefully see you very soon in the next one of these. For now, ciao, ciao.